Hello and welcome to another Lewisburg Community TV video. This is Tertulia TV episode 28 and we're coming to you from the shop. We're waiting on our opening date, which we hope will be soon. But in the meantime, the sun is shining and Neil's got his shorts on and I've got my sandals, so all's not too bad in the world. So today we will talk to you about a few new books that have come in and that we're reading, and also we have an interview which we did with Taran Khan, who is reading this gorgeous travel book Shadow City about walking around Kabul. So we'll get to that in a moment. In the meantime, you're reading Black Wave, which is from the same region, well, from Beirut.
Yes, from Kim Jantis, and it's about the Iranian Revolution and the rivalry between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and it just tells it kicked off in 1979, so it's like a sort of history of this sort of rivalry and all the Middle East and all the problems, and it's just magnificent. It's a fantastic book, and we're going to be talking to her hopefully soon.
It was recommended to us from Elias Books, which we have followed in Beirut, and we had them on another Tertulia TV when their shop kind of burnt down during the bomb that happened there some time ago. And they recommended this as one of their bestsellers in the shop.
If you're anyway interested in the Middle East, this is a must book to read.
I know, I'm dying to read it. You're nearly finished,
so that's great. And what are you reading, Brit?
So I got this proof sent in the post. It's actually quite a small book, but it's called The Mad Women's Ball, and I loved the cover, and the book does live up to the cover. It's by Victoria Mass. She's a gorgeous French writer and a bestseller in France, and it's been translated into English and is being launched here on the 17th of June, and we're going to have her Irish launch on in the shop online with our members area. So we're really looking forward to talking to Victoria. It's a beautiful story about women in the it starts in 1885 with an asylum in Paris. So we're taken into that whole world of women and what went on in Paris in the 80s. So it's a fantastic read. I couldn't put it down. Also, I'm just starting this. These are my 2 weekend books, which I'm taking home for myself, even though I have a stack at home that I'm in the middle of reading. This is Louise Kennedy, which has just come in a couple of weeks ago. The End of the World is a cul-de-sac. It's a short story collection, and Louise is also going to be doing an event with us on the 20th of May. This is her debut, and it's getting fantastic reviews, absolutely amazing reviews for her, and she seems like such a nice person as well, and we're going to be interviewing her in May. Looking forward to that. And then this is Nora by Nuala O'Connor. So it's the story of Nora Barnacle, who was the partner of James Joyce, and I heard Nuala talking last night on Unqueert about the book, and I'd been meaning to read it but thought I just absolutely have to read it. So it's the voice of Nora and her experience. Obviously we all know James Joyce, but it's her voice and their life together. And Nuala herself is a prolific writer and has written some other amazing books, and we're looking forward to reading that. So those 3 are what I'm up to at the moment.
So, well, we're going to go over to Taran, who's in Delhi, and she's going to tell us all about Shadow City, a woman's walks Kabul. So, over to you, Taran.
So hi, Taran. Welcome to Tertulia TV today. As you said, the sun's shining here, and it's lovely and hot in Delhi, I believe. So thanks so much for coming to talk to us about your book. So we sort of bought this in the shop, Shadow City, and it's about a woman who walks Kabul, which is you, I believe. But you're very welcome to the west coast of Ireland on Zoom.
What I loved about the book, Taran, is the fact that it's kind of it's history, it's travel, it's poetry, it's memoir. It's got so much going for it. Like, it's not like most travel books, which are great, but like this is something special. And congratulations on winning like Travel Book of the Year.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks.
So what was your inspiration for writing it?
Well, I'd like to start by saying thank you to you both for having me on your site and for having me virtually in your beautiful bookshop. You look like you're in a beautiful part of the world, and it's a pleasure to travel virtually at this time.
Oh, yes.
And it's lovely to feel connected to people, readers, so far away, but that's really the magic of books, right?
It is the magic. Yeah.
Closer to us, and I'm so happy and so grateful to you for allowing me into this small little part of this fellowship. About the book, I started I went to Kabul for the first time in 2006 with my husband and another friend, and we went to work in a small government-run TV and radio channel. And we kept going back and forth until 2013 on different projects because we loved it so much. We found it such an interesting city. We made friends there. And while I was there, I was also writing as a journalist, and I was publishing in Indian and international publications. And I was finding more and more that the stuff that I found really fascinating, really special about Kabul wasn't really fitting into the news or the feature format. For instance, what is it like to wake up and see these beautiful mountains every day? Or if you're sort of walking down the street and you hear the ice cream cart tune, and you know that it's Friday, it's the weekend, and it just gives you that feeling of holiday. This wasn't fitting in the journalistic work. So it sort of drew me to, I really wanted to write about that feeling of being in Kabul. Like you said, it wasn't really fitting into one kind of book as well. So I stopped worrying about what kind of book I was writing, and then it became easier to write, because if I kept thinking, well, is it this, is it that, it was really hard for me to say the things I wanted to say. So eventually I just said them, and then of course the structure sort of developed from that. But I was very keen to let readers just sort of wander, because I like to wander myself, and I know that it's hard to think of Kabul as a city that someone can relate to, because it's so marked by the last 40 years of conflict and war. But it has, of course, there is all of that, but there is also a lot more, and there are layers and layers to the city. And what I really wanted the structure of the book to do, or the lack of a structure of the book to do, was to let readers wander in their own imagination and connect it to the places they know. The way I did, like a certain sound triggered a memory for me, a certain snatch of poetry reminded me of something I read somewhere else. And that was the way I made a relationship with Kabul. And I wanted readers to be able to create that relationship as well.
Yeah, there's a bit that I loved the most, I think, was the going into the beauty parlors where they're getting ready for the weddings. I mean, it's hilarious, but really, really love. What was your favorite part of the book, or the one?
It's hard to choose, honestly, because I enjoyed. There was so much more that I wanted to put in. Initially, the book was much longer than it ended up being. I was lucky to have a good editor who helped me sort of, pare it down and pick the bits that would, because if you have a lot of things, then nothing really stands out. I think that was the key thing for me. So I had to pick the characters who told you something about the city, or through them you found a different perspective of the city. I think, though, if I had to sort of choose, I would pick the chapter on films, because that's really my area of work, and I really enjoyed talking to the people who made films. They were extremely enthusiastic. They had, very few resources. So they were so committed to the idea of telling stories, of just going out, shooting, doing whatever. That is lovely energy. And I learned so much from them. It's ironic considering I was supposedly going to teach, but I feel like I learned a lot from being around them and just seeing how just the idea of film as a as a form of communication, as a form of documentary. I don't mean documentary film, but documenting the reality, and also sharing the truth of that moment was for them.
Yeah, there was that bit where you went out on location, which I found hilarious, because I used to work in the film industry as well, and so I know all about locations, but just the way they just got the kids came in and watching, and it was a bit chaotic, but really sounded like great fun.
It was great fun. It was really, really interesting, and it was, I think, like I said, it was deeply inspiring, just because they were so into it. They were just they were very serious about it. It seemed easy to dismiss it, but I think it would be a mistake to think of it only as, something amusing, because there was a lot going on in that situation as well. Film sets in general tend to be quite chaotic.
Yes, totally.
And also they tend to become boring very quickly. So this was an exception.
Yeah, and will you get a chance to go back to Kabul?
Sorry, say that again?
Will you get a chance to go back to Kabul, to Afghanistan?
I last went in 2013, which is when the book ends. And since then, I haven't been back. And if I do get the chance to go, I don't know, because I haven't got it yet. But I know it will be to a completely different city. And I mean, the most recent part of this is the announcement of the withdrawal
That's right.
in September. And it's gone through completely another cycle of change. My friends have left a while ago. So even if I do go back, if I find a means and a way to return, I know it will be to a very, very different city.
Are you worried about the withdrawal and the rise of the Taliban again?
I mean, from what I hear from people there seems to be a mood of great foreboding, and of course there is a lot of worry about what will follow. So I mean, at this point, I'm simply doing what I can and listening to people on the ground, because I think they're the only ones who can give us a clear sense of what's going on. But definitely there is, I think, a sense of anger, a sense of apprehension.
Yeah, I hope it works out okay, because it's just so sad. I mean, as much as I love the book, there's a little bit of sadness tinged with the book as well, because these people have just put up with so much over the years, and it's just not fair.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's really difficult. And the news from Kabul has been, from Afghanistan really, but because I know Kabul the best, it's been increasingly heartbreaking over the years. And it just seems to be sort of the hope that I witnessed in 2006, which was already sort of fading by 2013, is now, I think, just an object of memory at this point.
Yeah, no, really sad. So how do you follow this? Because this is so good. I mean, you're going to have to really work hard. And where will you be next in the travel world?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I mean, I hope I can write something that's as inspiring to me as Kabul was, because it took me a long time to finish this book. And I'm glad I spent that time. I have no regrets, because I wanted to get it right. It's a city that's so close to my heart. The people in it are so close to me. They're so dear to me. I just wanted to do the very best I could. I don't know when I'll find something that inspires me in the same way. But once I do, I don't know if it'll even be travel. Maybe I'll end up writing about something closer to home, because it's something we're noticing more and more with the pandemic, that people who used to travel so much now being stuck at home are starting to realize the stories that are all around them. Yeah. And I like the idea of writing about something that's very familiar to me and then excavating it to find new stories there.
Yeah, well, it's good. What I like about it is that wandering, like you said, you just wander down streets. I mean, you could do that in most cities and you can get lost. I mean, I love travel, and I love when I go to a city, I like getting lost, because that's part of why I love the book so much. So you could almost do that in Delhi. You could do it. Yeah.
Because when the first time we were in India in 1990, we were in Delhi, but we then traveled back and ended back up in Delhi from where we were going to fly out. And we had 3 days left, and we hadn't been to see the Taj Mahal, and we were there going, oh my God, will we go to the Taj Mahal? Will we not? So we decided in the end that we would just
hang out.
We would just hang out in Delhi, and we sat in the square, the Connaught Square, and we just watched all of the madness that goes on with, like it does in any city, but maybe particularly more in Delhi, of all the interesting characters, and we were talking to people, and in a way we were so glad we didn't go to the Taj Mahal.
We see the real India.
You could definitely do a book about Delhi, that's for sure. Oh my God.
Absolutely, yeah. And right now I'm in Aligarh, which is my family home, but I was in Delhi before this. And I think, Delhi is inspiring, Mumbai is inspiring. There's so many places that even Aligarh is inspiring. It's part of my book already. So who knows? But like I said, it's wonderful to that's also my favorite way of seeing a city, is to wander around, kind of get lost, sit at a cafe and have this, a coffee or a drink and watch the world go by. That's definitely my favorite way of seeing a new place, rather than go to the
and it's a challenge
to a set of monuments or sightseeing tours.
Yeah, because it's a challenge to write a book that does that. So you have done amazing to actually capture that sense in a book, isn't it? A lot of travel books don't get to do that very successfully, but you have.
And will you?
I'm so glad you like it.
Will you come on a tour to Europe once the pandemic is over?
I would love to.
We would love to have you come to Ireland.
It looks like a dream. Your bookshop is definitely on my list of places. If I make it to Europe, hopefully when this madness is over and they're all able to travel again, I'm definitely putting it on my list. You're by the sea, which is wonderful. And will I have to dress very warm for it, or you'll have to tell me how many layers to carry beforehand?
I don't know. It's so funny. Yeah, I mean, like we have Italian friends, and you know, we went to visit them and it was 30 degrees and they won't swim because it's so cold. But when they come to visit us here and we go swimming in summer when it's only like 15 degrees, they go, oh my God.
Are you crazy?
Are you crazy? You know? Yeah. So yeah, you need warm clothes, I think. Yeah.
Okay. I'll factor that in, but definitely, I really hope to see you guys in person. And thank you so much for having me on your.
I
know,
know.
thank
you.
Thank you. So nice.
Yeah,
to
it's
meet
lovely
you.
to meet you. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Take care now.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Taran. Love the book.
Yeah, and it was so lovely to meet Taran, and it was such a lovely thing to just come into our shop and be talking to someone in Delhi. And she actually asked us to give us a tour of the shop, so we took her around with the camera, showing her all the little nooks and crannies and showing her outside and Clare Island.
And she's invited us to Delhi.
And she's invited us to Delhi.
So when we can travel.
Whenever we can travel, it'd be lovely to go to India. Anyway, that's it for us for episode 28. So take care and talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.